I'm on TV. Welcome to a bit of company chat. Let's start the show.
Bit of company and a chat. A bit of company and a chat. Bit of company and a chat. What's better than that?
Hey Camerado, you're tuned in to a bit of company chat. And this is the one where we mix with folk who don't look like us. Please join us in welcoming to the screen today's host, Isaac.
Gosh, we're live. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful episode. So, Camerados, let me explain Camerados. Camerados as a movement, bit difficult to explain, kind of like between a stranger and a friend, being alongside each other, particularly at these really challenging times. I just love Camerados as a movement. I found them through Spoon Rooms, and they've helped me out some really difficult times, some really dark times. So please do follow us on any of our social media platforms, and we really do want for you to get involved. Today's episode, we are so privileged and lucky to be able to welcome Yvonne, that will share her experience of COVID, her family's experience of COVID, and she's a bona fide Camerado, and I just love the movement. So no fixing, being alongside, no judgment, bit between a friend and a stranger, but just so uplifting and great. But don't take my word for it. Here's a clip from the Camerados movement.
Good morning, Camerado.
Good morning, Camerado.
How you doing?
Good.
People have that ability inside themselves to sort their own lives out. And I think what Camerados does, it gives people that human space to do that, and to do that together where everybody helps each other.
We are Camerados.
Just absolutely mushy, lovely feeling when I watched that, the lovely people from the movement. So today we are going to get the opportunity to speak to a bona fide Camerados member that has really been instrumental in kind of offering her thoughts on getting through the COVID pandemic, the views of her family. I just love the movement. It's like no fixing, just being alongside, asking someone to help you. Really gives people a space of hope. And so, yeah, if we could move on to inviting Yvonne in, that would be great.
Hey, hello.
Yvonne, welcome.
How are you doing? Isaac, can I just say, I'm loving the outfit. You are really rocking that. That's amazing.
So when we mix with folk that don't look like us, Yvonne, we are going to be talking about inequalities today, and I just love the fact that we're going to have a bit of a chat about kind of you and your family. So Yvonne, what's your name? Where are you from? Like Silly used to say.
So, I'm Yvonne, and I live in Oxfordshire. Me and you have met before. We've had a couple of chats, haven't we, about life during the pandemic. And I'm a mum, and I have 2 kids, and I have a lovely hubby called Nathan, and the 4 of us have had a bit of an interesting time during the pandemic, it has to be said.
When I hear that word interesting, I'm always so intrigued. So what does interesting mean?
Well, it's been a bit up and down. It's not always been the easiest of time, and I'm sure that's been the same for loads and loads of people, actually. But I mean, one of the things that is different in our house is that my son has special needs. He's got autism, and so that added a different layer of things to have to manage. When we were when we were in that first lockdown and we were all put in that really rather quickly, it did cause a few interesting moments in our house trying to explain what it was all about, really, and the changes to everybody's daily routines, which, you know, if you've got learning difficulties or if you've got autism, it's really quite tricky.
Yeah, really important to raise. So, Yvonne, I know you shared back with me when we had our interview around some of the fun stuff that you did, but also some of the stuff that you did around kind of just getting through the days. Would you share some of that fun stuff that you've done?
Oh, well, we set up a massive pool in our garden, and I bought it because I was really envious of my neighbours. They had one in the previous summer and I could hear all the kids playing in it. I thought, I actually want a bit of that. I want to be able to sit in that pool after work with a tea, you know, a G&T, not a normal tea, you know, as we were talking about. And so I bought the pool, COVID hit, and we're like, oh, well, actually, that's quite handy. So we set up this space in our garden, and we were all so lucky with the weather, weren't we? I mean, it was amazing. April and May last year, it was just a brilliant gift to have that time to be outside and mucking about in the swimming pool. And so we had a day where we pretended we were in Greece and had Greek food and had a barbecue and played in the pool. And yeah, so we did that. We played lots of different games, actually, and we walked the dog.
Oh,
the dog was a real lifeline during lockdown.
Yours and mine both. And I know, Yvonne, that we've spoken about, you know, how lucky we both are to have outdoor space. And so today's episode's about sort of inequalities, and that we've spoken about this, and you've mentioned your son. So tell me about your experience of kind of being a parent to someone with additional support needs, and how you kind of managed and coped.
Well, I mean, we were kind of all left to our own devices, really. And I think a lot of people, if you go on social media a lot, you'll find a lot of parents on there who felt a little bit adrift. And I want to use the word forgotten about, which sounds, it does sound awful. And at times it was a little bit, because there was all of these bits of information happening and going on, and none of it seemed to reflect what we needed as a family. And it took ages for someone to realise that actually perhaps if you've got additional needs, being confined in a small space is not great for you, actually, and you need to have more time to be out and about, and just being allowed out for an hour's walk a day probably isn't enough. But it took quite a long time for that to feed through to the changes in advice. So we, you know, when I found out that we could go out more, it was brilliant, because we went out for more walks. I just wish someone had told us that earlier on. And I know I wasn't the only one struggling with it. There are plenty of others.
How did you manage homeschooling and school and all of that kind of stuff that parents had to manage?
Oh my word, homeschooling. Do you know what? I am so relieved that the schools and the colleges are able to go back on the 8th of March. So I think what's been difficult is children with additional needs find distant and online learning so tricky to access. It's hard for any child, I think, but actually, if your child needs a little bit extra support, I think it's even more tricky. And so in the end, we sort of didn't. We did the minimum we could get away with, and just concentrated on trying to keep everybody happy and content, and trying to get through this whole thing with the least trauma that you possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, people are so doing the best they can with what they've got at this time. We were having a bit of a conversation earlier about sort of vaccines and the young lady that Sisters, the DJ, that's really highlighted some of the inequalities. And I know that's been a bit of a concern for you and, you know, the inequalities that have arisen because of COVID. Do you want to share some of your experiences?
Well, I just, it's interesting because one of the first things that happened is that what local authorities were expected to deliver for children for special needs, they didn't have to anymore. So, you know, many kids who've got support needs, they have something called an education healthcare plan. It's an EHCP. Ooh, is that a wonky word? I don't know. Could be. But it sets out exactly what your child needs, and it's actually a legally binding document, believe it or not. But during the first sort of set of COVID, the government allowed local authorities not to have to meet what was set out in those documents, from as I understand it. So that meant that the children weren't getting that support that they needed. So my son, even though he has one and has a place in a specialist college, he was at home learning with us, which wasn't the best for everybody, really.
Thank you, Yvonne. So important. Yvonne, you did remind me, and thank you. So please do send in your wonky words. We have a section coming up called Wonky Words, and we want to hear from you guys what your wonky words are. You can send them in via any of our social media platforms. I'm just wondering, Yvonne, thank you for that wonderful insight. If we should go to the title card, to Aunt Sally's words of wisdom.
Then we all go.
I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy. I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy. I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy.
I love a bit of Aunt Sally.
Oh, I love it.
I've been watching these every week, and I have to say, I think my favourite was when she was having champagne in the bath. I just thought, where is she going with that?
Only Aunt Sally. But that David doing that whole thing, you know, like just reminds me of all the parents up and down, you know, the UK that I know that have really struggled with just getting through, not knowing what to do and how to kind of manage parenting and schooling during COVID. So hats off to all those parents, including you, Yvonne.
I'm surprised I've got any hair left, Isaac. It's certainly grey. This is, you know, bottle brown.
Well, here's one that I made earlier, you see.
I think it's looking gorgeous.
On a lighter note, let's go straight over to Aunt Sally. Aunt Sally's words of wisdom, please.
Aunt Sally's words of wisdom. So today we're going to be talking about inequalities in society and everything that means. And it should mean a lot to each and every one of us. When you hear something that you really disagree with and you think is absolutely terrible, then make sure you say it. Don't be silent, but say it in a really respectful way. So instead of saying, "You're wrong," say, "I've got a bit of a problem with what you've just said," and explain why you've got a problem. That way, the other person is more likely to listen. So don't point the finger, just say, "I've got a problem with what you're saying." It actually works.
If you're organising an event, then make sure everybody has the same experience. Understand that people start off from a different place. It's really important to break down all those barriers so that everybody has the same experience.
Oh my goodness, it says that Math Potts is going to fly to Mars and live there for the rest of his life. Oh no, what are we going to do? Just because something says it online or you hear it doesn't mean to say it's true. Fake news is set out to ruin the reputation of people or organisations, or to just make you generally worry. So if you see something that you think is unbelievable, It probably is. Check it out before you retweet or you believe it. It's common sense. Check it out. And here's a piece of news that isn't fake. Citibank are going to allow people to change their name to the one that they want without going through the bureaucracy of legals and red tape. It's about time that people are allowed to be who they want to be. So well done, Citibank. I think I'll be joining them, and I'm going to name myself Queen Sally, Words of Wisdom. Very fitting. My last words of wisdom for you all is about kindness. But what does kindness mean? I'm not talking about the power struggle, patronising type of kindness where you make yourself feel better. I'm talking about good kindness, and kindness where you think about who you're sitting somebody next to at a meeting to make them feel more comfortable. Or make sure that if you're hosting a meeting, the jargon stays at the front door, and that you make sure everybody understands everything that's being said. Those sorts of acts of kindness are really important. So, if you're going to be anything, be good kind. Aunt Sally's Words of Wisdom.
Is that a beaver I see?
It is. It's a beaver. It looks like a space bot beaver. Let me lift it up. Oh, it's hot.
I didn't think that this was that kind of show, Yvonne.
Oh my. No, there is a reason I put it on. We're talking about mix of folk that don't look like us. I mean, how often do you sit down and have a brew with a beaver? I'm a beaver, by the way. My nickname in the office is the Beav. So I was thinking about that thing from Citibank, and if I was, had an account with them, that's what I think I might call myself.
Well, I can say that I sat down with a beaver and had a conversation today. I think I'm completely mad, but anyway.
No, they call me that because I'm a scout leader as well. So I'm a beaver leader, the little ones, the 6 to 8 year olds. So that's where it comes from.
Oh. And Aunt Sally's Words of Wisdom's always so refreshing and hopeful, and just it's so in line with the whole Camerados movement, from the public living rooms to Spoon Room to Friday night party. Those spaces of hope, those spaces of just being alongside people. Can we have the place card and we'll move on, please, for the stories from the movement.
Help me explore just how much I love him and how important he is to me.
Gorgeous.
Oh, this is one of my favourite bits too. In fact, I like loads of these, getting to hear what other people have to say. And then we can figure out, what comes next? What can we do about the things that they're talking about?
Yeah, so important. And hearing from people in the movement, really, really important. I was just wondering if we should go to some of the suggestions that people have said around a bit of action.
Oh, apparently someone's come up with a beaver joke and it was math. There's always one. What was that bit of action up there? Oh, become a pen pal with people who are similar to yourself. Oh, okay. Oh, wonky word, roadmap. Oh, I think Hayley wants us to listen to stories from the movement. Maybe we should do that and we can talk about it after.
I have absolutely done one of the things that I shouldn't have done, forgot what I'm doing, but it's okay to mess up sometimes. Over to stories from the movement.
Well, I think it's been a tale of two parts, really. The recent lockdown has been different from the one that we had that began in March. So my reason for wanting to share my story is to give some information about what it's like as a parent going through the pandemic with a child that has special educational needs, and the impact that the pandemic had on what support that individual received, and then how that impacted upon us as a wider family. So the reason I say it's a tale of two parts is that this time round, we haven't lost the support in terms of educational placement, whereas first time round, everything stopped. And that was a pretty difficult situation to navigate.
And all these talk about do not DNR orders and do not resuscitate orders, it isn't exactly giving me much hope either.
And that's not just people with learning disabilities, that also goes for older people.
Yeah.
That was shocking, really shocking. I mean, I was really upset by that.
Yeah, who isn't?
So how did you find out about all of those do not resuscitate orders? And
I saw the older people's one on the news, but actually about the learning disabilities one, I actually eventually, it took a bit of a while, but I actually saw and somebody retweeted a tweet from the CEO of Voyager Care.
Right.
The CEO that actually tweeted out how disgusted he was that people in the care of his organisation were actually being given blanket do not resuscitate orders, and he was tweeting out his disgust with that.
It particularly worries me about people with learning disabilities who might have all manner of means of health conditions as well. Well, to be honest, I mean, if any of them, and there's a few members of my family and of Paul's family that probably fall into that category easily. Right, if they're unlucky enough to catch the coronavirus and they need to go into hospital because they could potentially serious enough that they could die from it. Are they in danger of getting a DNR on them and basically being left to die?
I think as well, actually, as an autistic person, and I've had this kind of feedback from different spaces in the autistic community, is that as autistic people, you know, going back to the social model of disability, there are so many things that society and culture expects of us in terms of social contact and going into very, very busy, intense spaces in terms of social interaction and sensory input, dealing with multiple different demands. Actually, this lockdown has given us the opportunity to have all of those things taken away and to experience the world in a way that has shown us that good mental health, a positive sense of well-being, is perfectly possible as autistic people under the right circumstances. Yeah? So actually, the lockdown has been a really positive experience for lots of people.
Oh, Isaac, I thought you'd done a runner there for a minute and I was going to be on my own.
I came back. Just so COVID has really, for me, and listening to those stories, really shone a light on some of those inequalities, some of those challenges that already were there. And Catherine talks about blanket decision making. You know, how is that at all acceptable in this day and age where, you know, Kat talks about, you know, DNRs being really, really scary and
Do you know what? This has been one of the things that I have really found actually so outrageous that I think, it can't actually be happening. But I've seen so much that has shown me that it is. And the fact that MenCap and the National Autistic Society had to actually say, why are these DNRs being placed on people who are in shared living accommodation? They're not in the need of those. It kind of, they have a right to be treated when they go into hospital just as anyone else who would fall ill with COVID. And when I was reading it, I was thinking, well, I know what my son's been like when he's been in hospital. He finds it confusing, upsetting, and it's not the easiest thing to get him to do what you need him to do. Does that mean that okay, maybe he doesn't get what he needs? And that was the message that was coming out to folk in that community, and their parents, their carers, and the staff that look out for them in those homes. I mean, that's very, very painful for a lot of people. And at the moment, it's been in the news a lot about Jo Wiley and her sister, and the fact that when it came to vaccinating folk in care homes, yes, they rightly looked at the elderly, but they didn't look at other people who were looking and living in shared accommodation, who probably have incredibly complex needs and situations, and make them really vulnerable when they go into hospital because they find it confusing.
Yvonne, we do have to move on to a bit of action next, but so important, this, all of the responses from the community. Next up is a bit of action.
Yeah.
Seems to be so random, and it affects people in such different ways.
I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy. I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, there's a few coming along the bottom.
There is a few.
Go on a midday meander.
Yeah.
With another person. Or your dog. Or with me and my dog. I'm always up for a walk.
One size fits all. Yeah. For me, a bit of action is always, like as Sally says, is just be questioning. Just really do challenge, because I think we owe, everybody, and it's about being alongside and not fixing, and seeing people for the unique human beings they are. Which
and treating them as such, that they are human beings, and not, because as a parent of somebody who finds being around other people quite challenging, just that sense of that camaraderie thing, being alongside. You don't have to always be their best friend. It's just about looking out for them, really.
Yeah, it is. And the movement does it so well, looking at just being alongside everybody. And I always think of Sally's words of wisdom, that thing of not treating everybody the same. People have different barriers that they need to
and make sure that you think about that. I mean, a brilliant bit of action anybody can do is just think about and be in someone else's shoes, really, and try and imagine what it might be like for them. You might not be able to completely understand. That's okay. And it's okay not to completely understand, but to make an effort is really important.
Yeah. And be kind to ourselves. It's really challenging out there for people at the moment.
I've just noticed Math wants me to put my beaver back on. Maybe at the end credits, Math, we'll see.
Don't try to hijack our show, please. Anyway, the next bit of this is the bit that I love the most. Let's hear from the puppets. Cue those puppet cards, please.
I'm also sort of just realized that how much stressed actually I've been through the period, which I wasn't aware of.
Hello. Hi. We are back, baby. Yay! Camerados are letting us back out to play for a bit of company chat. Can I come play too? Sure.
Again, can I just say, I have a get out clause because I keep on forgetting what I'm supposed to be doing. But principle number one in the movement is, what is the principle, Yvonne?
What? Have more fun? Mix
No,
with people that don't look like you? Oh, there's 6. Is this a test?
Yes, it's a test.
It's okay to fail.
It's okay to fail or get it wrong. We are going to go into wonky words now. So let's think about some of these wonky words. One of the words that really absolutely gets me is asset-based. What does that mean? Asset-based.
Oh, I don't know. Does it mean the stuff you've got? Kat's doing assessment of need.
What does
that's
that
sort of
mean?
extremely clinically vulnerable.
Oh no, Aunt Sally coined a phrase that is being used all over the place. Not vulnerable, valuable.
Yeah. I saw I think Community Catalysts have been doing a really, really good thing on Twitter about valuable, not vulnerable. Yeah.
I heard it from Sally.
Did you? Oh, did she get in there first? Oh, well done, Sally.
Yes.
New normal. Oh, unprecedented times. Well, actually, maybe there's things about this new normal that might be quite nice. I quite like everybody's been looking out for one another more. Can we keep that?
We can definitely keep that bit. But as Jen talked about in the clip from Stories from the Movement, for non-neurotypical people, not having to kind of be in the big wide world and be made to fit in, has been really good for her. So, there are good things that have come out of.
Do you know what? That's so true. My son quite likes going for a walk, and don't bump into people to talk to them. He's quite enjoying that.
Yes, so we've got loads and loads of wonky words. Roadmap. Oh God, what does roadmap mean?
Oh, that's the new one from the government that came out yesterday. Our roadmap to getting out of COVID.
Oh, interesting. Blanket decisions from Catherine. But blanket decisions. What's that? Really plays out in COVID.
What does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to have a woolen one or nylon?
Well, I think it means everyone gets free access to weave.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can imagine Hayley's in the background going, I am meant to be playing puppets.
I know Hayley's going to tell me about the puppets. But anyway, thank you, Yvonne, once again. We are going to hear from the wonderful puppets that bring it to life. The thanks to Kat.
Look at this! I'm on the television! I'm on TV! 2, 10, 10.
It's a shame for, say, people at church or other people who can't access online.
Today's bit of company chat is brought to you by the letter F. F for phone calls. Not everybody can get online. Pick up the phone and reach out and touch someone.
But whenever people in Shrewsbury, I ring them up and ask them how they're doing and catch up with them, because I do anyway, but it's just people who I know, I think, they're not going to be online. How are they going to be feeling?
So really, it's been bad, and I explained to people that I felt like I was being tossed in a washing machine or being thrown from wall to wall,
Welcome to the 6 o'clock news. Our first story will follow after 2 minutes of applause for our NHS.
I think demonstrating inequality quite well there. Poor puppets, no hands.
No hands, no hands. And that washing machine, that feeling of just being in that washing machine. We've all been there. Oh, God.
Yeah. I likened it to being on a treadmill, like constantly just doing this. And then as another announcement, and you feel like you've sped up for a bit. And then you think, oh, I'm just going to calm down a little bit. And then they throw another announcement at you and you're speeding up again.
I don't do much treadmilling, just voguing.
Oh, love a bit of Vogue. Show us your moves.
So we are at that time, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our wonderful space where we've been able to talk to Yvonne and really share some of the principles of Camerados. And I think it's really important to just do a bit of wrapping up. It has been really challenging for people with additional support needs. COVID has really highlighted some inequalities across the whole of our society. And one way I believe, and I've seen this and I've experienced this, that we can minimize those inequalities is become a Camerados, live by the principles, being alongside, creating spaces of hope. And that sounds a bit woolly, doesn't it? But spaces of hope. But just being alongside someone with no fixing is just great. And Yvonne, final word to you before I let everyone know about tonight.
Well, I just want to say thanks for having the chat and thanks for letting me ramble on a little bit about what it's like to be the parent of someone who needs some of those alongside moments. So thanks so much for that. And can I just say, I really love your necktie. Can you send it to me after?
I'll send it to you.
Awesome, thanks.
I just look fabulous, I know. But anyway,
you do, darling.
Anyway, be a Camerados, connect to the movement. Please do tune in tonight where we'll be talking about racism and structural racism and how it's really played out in the pandemic. We'll have Tony, another wonderful Camerados, and keep on being good, keep on doing what you're doing. And remember, we're all just trying to do the best that we can with the stuff that we've got. And it's okay to get it wrong, like I got it wrong today. And the lovely, lovely, lovely Beaver has rescued me, demonstrating the principles of Camerados. It's okay to get it wrong. Right, let's end with a bit of Vogue. Be Camerados. See you guys later, and thank you for tuning in. Follow us on our various social media platforms, and thank you once again for tuning in.
Bye.
Sometimes we're all a little bit pants, and not so happy day when things don't go our way. And in between the rubber, the green, the roll of the dice, the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes, almost all the time, we're all a little bit pants, a tad under par, but that's who we are. And even finding rhymes is harder than you'd think. Sometimes we're all a little bit pants, a not so happy day when things don't go our way. And in between the rubber, the green, the roll of the dice, the way the cookie crumbles.